Sis to Sis. Hi guys, welcome back to Sis to Sis. We have been having a really good response to the video we did last time, discussing how men and women come together and how our perception as women of men's perception of women, how that actually works in today's society, and speaking to our females about listening to what men want, and also speaking to the males that we understand that it's time to take heed and listen. At the same time, just after we recorded, we ended up stumbling on a clip. This clip.
But Christmas, I paid. You know, I've always.
But Daddy,
My kids ain't never
I need to hear that first
I've
part
always
again.
paid.
You said you've been married to your wife 18 years and she ain't never paid what?
I've been married to my wife for 18 years, going on 19 years.
Blueprint,
My wife has
fellas.
never paid a mortgage payment. She's never paid a gas bill, electric bill. She's never paid a cable bill. She's never had to pay insurance for her cars. I pay for all that. But that's what a fucking man does for his family. I'm not on no pedestal behind it, but that's what a man does. A man takes care of his family. My wife shouldn't have to worry about a goddamn mortgage payment. She doesn't have to worry about the lights being on, gas being on, food in the motherfucking refrigerator. She don't pay for food. She don't pay for none of that. That's my motherfucking job. Understand me? You don't have to be on a pedestal to do that shit. That's what a man do, and a man don't brag about that shit. I'm not bragging at all, but that's what a fucking man does. A man that got 8 children.
He's a dad, and basically the clip doesn't give you much. He is kind of expressing the fact that he provides and protects his family. His wife of 18 years has never had to pay a bill in his life. His kids can phone him up and he'd always provide monetary protection and security for them. Then because that was the clip, it wasn't showing the whole picture. So we did a little bit of digging and we went on to watch Alanja Van Zandt's Fix My Life. And there it showed the same man. He had wrote into Alanja to fix the complex relationships that were going on within his family, and explaining that they were literally at breaking point. Now we saw a breakdown of this video before we saw the whole picture, and there was people giving their views about, does a man provide and protect, and that's his role as an alpha male. It was so interesting.
Yes.
To then break it down and realize that just his comment, I mean, a lot of guys were saying, well, he's got like an OG attitude towards what a man does, and how would that work in today's society. And me and Charlie were discussing, is that what a man's role is, to just pay for everything?
Yeah, to just protect and provide, what other elements does it take to sort of make up, not the ideal man, but a man's role, a father figure, husband, partner. As you said, the smaller clip that we came across first didn't give you a full picture. Watching the sort of background, the breakdown of his family, yes, he provides and protects. What you didn't get to see was I wouldn't say the destruction, but the kind of damaged relationships.
The dysfunction.
Literally, although he was telling his daughters in the smaller clip, don't ever get with a man that can't do the things that I can do for you as a father. When you watch the extended version of their family, he doesn't actually have a healthy relationship with any of his daughters, his sons, his daughters, his wife.
Because he's quite aggressive, quite ignorant, quite bullish in his approach. And some people might have said, in the first clip we showed that it shows he had a bear can in his hand, so he was probably under the influence. But when you get the whole backstory I think the YouTube clip is called Washing Your Dirty Laundry. And when you get the back picture, you realize that although he didn't have a father growing up, so he didn't actually know what it was to be a king of his castle. And we were just like trying to discuss between ourselves the alpha male role that some people think is that strong, aggressive person that pushes people into submission is toxic, and we mustn't get mixed up between what an alpha male is and what a toxic person is, because you could be an alpha male that still needs to do lots of healing.
Yes,
and
definitely.
there are so many different categories or styles of men out there. You know, there are men that are not alpha male, but some people might be a match with that person.
Yes, definitely.
And we basically, on the back of the last video, we were saying, you know, that some women are out there looking for alpha males, that if you get with a man who is not an alpha male, who is a sigma or a beta male or gamma male, that you also can't expect then to have alpha male qualities. If you're looking for an alpha male, you've got to learn to know that person. You've got to get to know the ins and outs of how they do things, what they prioritize in life, because often an alpha male will be on his game the most of the time. He will be trying to earn, to provide. Therefore, you might not get all the couple time,
and the attention,
all the,
and
exactly.
Yeah, as they say, going back to the extended video that we watched, then a lot of what the children of that gentleman said was a lot of his ways of showing love was transactional. You know, you can have this if you do this, and if you don't do this, and that isn't what an alpha does. You don't use goods and material things. You're supposed to lead by example. If you want your daughters to be with certain type of men, it shouldn't just be financial. Oh, if a man can't provide for you and protect you like I do, then don't be with that male. Because what was sad to see, and what came out of that extended sort of documentary, was that all of his children, all of his daughters had been through some kind of sexual abuse. But because his protection is more bullyish, they'd rather not tell him that they'd been sexually abused as children than fear their dad reacting so aggressively to the perpetrators that he ends up in jail. A protector should be someone you can go to and sit down and talk about things with.
I think that's
not your children be so scared that they can't come to you.
I think being an alpha doesn't mean that you're not able to communicate.
You're not approachable.
Yeah, you need to be able to communicate. You need to have integrity. You need to have all the sort of skills. You need to be vulnerable yourself. You need to be able to know that you can allow someone else to love you. Although in the end you might think the result might be you getting hurt, you need to be open to that. Otherwise you'll never get 100% of what you deserve. And the person will never get 100% of you if you always are just kind of
ruling from top down, as opposed to leading from example. If you want to be listened to as a male, whatever male category you fall in, alpha, sigma, as you said, beta, if you want a partner, if you want your children to be able to listen and communicate with you, you have to be listening and communicating with them.
And I just out there, because I think a lot of black women as well just think I want a man to do this, that and the other, when not understanding that there are different types of men out there, and what you have to actually think about specifically what you need out of a relationship. And men need to do the same. You need to think, what is it that's what I prioritize in relationship? Because just saying all women are this and all men are this is really wrong, because we are all individual people, and we fall into different types of people too. And in an age where we're all trying to heal, you have to know who you're with, so that you know exactly how much they require from you emotionally as well as the financial.
I think you also need to know, as you said, do your background and get to know a person before rushing into a relationship or trying to have children with them, or all these sorts of things. Because some men who have grown up without fathers, fantastic. Other men who have grown up without fathers have overcompensated for the things they didn't have. If you didn't have a dad there, you kind of feel neglect. You feel like you didn't have anybody that wanted to love you or protect you or kind of spend that time with you. So you can smother your children almost with time or with possessions and material things. You can, your protection level can go to sort of a whole paranoid level, as opposed to thinking, okay, I didn't have a protector, but this is the kind that I would have wanted, not overcompensate because you didn't have. So like you said before, like we said in many of our videos, there's a lot of healing work to be done, because a lot of your love styles, love languages comes directly from your childhood. Sometimes you will push your own children away or push your partner away, I think, because you you know, we've spoken about this, because you have always felt neglect, before you get a chance to be neglected, you tend to kind of push people away.
Yeah, and I think that is really evident when we watch the Alanja Van Zandt version of this family and what was going on inside. Like, this man, although he was being king and protector, his own son, he was physical on quite a lot, and he couldn't see perspective. He couldn't see things from the other family members' point of view, and most of his children were just really crying out for him, for the true him, not for his money, not for his, but just to have a relationship with him. And I think that's also important, and it can get lost when you're trying to climb and provide and make sure your children have all the opportunities they want. It can get lost that sometimes they just need you as a person,
the human the human elements that in touch with, as you said, your own vulnerability, your own feelings. Hug your children, you know, sit down, you know, you should be able to at least be next to your children and not kind of feel this distance, whether it's kind of spiritually, emotionally, physically. You should be able to be hands-on with your children, show them affection, so they actually know when they go out into the world what love is supposed to be, what affection is supposed to feel like, what it's supposed to look like. A lot of his tactics were, he couldn't actually see that a lot of his children's behaviours, their aggressive behaviours, were direct reflections of his example. They asked his son, would you want to be like your dad?
That was really
and he
sad,
said no,
actually. That was
he'd never want to be his dad.
Yeah, and he said, what kind of person are you modelling yourself then as a man? And he said, myself. And that's so sad that your dad's with you, but literally you don't want to be this type of father he's been. I know it happens. It probably happens more than we would like. But I think for myself, for Charlie, what's really important as a person who is trying to do better and be a better version of you every day is literally having a mirror and looking at yourself, looking at what you put out, and that you are going to attract what you put out. People are watching you. We are role models for so many people, and you have to be able to be reflective. You have to be able to see within you why you say this. Like, we've questioned why we're doing this as a YouTube, and we've come to understand that we want to share our experiences and we want to help people within our community. We're not just doing it for likes and just to talk. We do like to talk, but talking for no consequence, that it's rubbish. So we want to be able to have content that's going to help somebody out there.
Give them the tools, basically, not just advice and information, but sometimes you might hear something that sparks something that actually might sort of start off your own self-healing.
And I always said, like, my husband has been very present in our children's life, been very present in everything we do. He's always worked 2-3 jobs, you know, changed his career in order to be able to provide for all of us. But at the same time, I've always said to him, you need to appreciate the journey and not just the destination. And I think that has become more and more apparent as the children have grown up, and he's realised that he has just been working a lot. He's always been there, and, you know, he's done the school run from time to time. But it is really important, I think, as mothers, we can appreciate that nurturing, that time spending, getting to know and build a relationship with your child. I think sometimes as a provider, protector, as an alpha, a real true alpha, you can get lost in just that being a priority, and you have to really make time, and you have to really break down your role to yourself. It doesn't have to be a public thing, you know. I mean, a lot of people said that even that guy who said he does this, that and the other for his family, it didn't need, as it's called, washing your dirty laundry. It didn't need to go viral, because that's something that he should know he does. I mean, at one point he did say that he doesn't want to be put up on a pedestal for the things that he does, but I do think if you're secure in what you're doing and you know what your role is, you can do it without
seeking validation.
So we just want to really just to say that it's really important not to get cross-wired in between the fact that you can earn such and such and you have this to offer monetarily, you know, you have this monetary type of wealth without the wealth of self. And the knowledge of yourself. And that, you know, shout out to all the people who responded to our last video and said, you know, how comes you guys as sisters can to understand what it is to listen to men and what men need, and why has it taken so long for other women to. And I think we need an understanding that there's all types of men out there, and sisters do go out looking for a man, and there's so many versions of that, and we have to be discerning in the type of people we're attracting, and why are we attracting those certain type of men. And the fact that we as women, we are the gatekeepers, as one of the comments said, we are the gatekeepers to the sexual, to our bodies. But at the end of the day, the men hold the key to relationships, and they're the ones who usually, in an ordinarily type fashion, in an old fashioned way, they're the ones who propose. They're the ones who seek engagement and want to meet your family or take you to meet their family. So it's important for females as well to know that just because a man is seeking you out, what is he seeking you out for? And if it's the whole package he wants, you'll know that really soon in the game, because men know, I would say, within a few weeks whether that is the person that they're ready to settle down with. They figure it out really, really quickly. So it's important that we as women really know that not all men who are seeking you out want marriage
or even a relationship,
or a relationship. And you need to kind of do your own work and know that what you're going to attract is what you are portraying. So if you are, humble, if you understand what your role would be as a wife, that's more chances that you're going to meet someone who understands that you are ready to commit to that type of person. You're going to be supportive and submissive, and a lot of women don't actually like when other women talk about submission. It's like a submission is such a negative thing, when actually this is real life. Like, if you're going to be a wife, I'm not saying you're a mouse, you're quiet, you're this. No, but you need to learn that you have to support your king in having on his way to his throne. And if you're not willing to do that, then you're not willing to be someone's partner or that person's partner. And it's just really important that we understand that not just because we're physically attracted to people doesn't mean that we're necessarily going to be with them and we're going to be the best person to be in their life forever, ever. And I do still believe in black love. I still believe that there's a forever, ever. But I think communication is the key to these relationships, and you've got to talk, you've got to understand each other, and you will change throughout your lives within your relationship. And you need to grow with each other, because otherwise one person will be doing a healing work, whether that's be through counselling or through their own reflection and their own maturity and their own experiences, while the other person is just watching and looking and thinking,
staying stagnant and not growing.
Exactly. And if you do want your relationship to last, it can. If you just explain to this person, this is where I am now. I'm developing as a man in this way, and I've changed some of the views or values I first had when we were together, but honey, this is how you can support me here. I mean, it's those conversations that need to be had, instead of thinking, I've outgrown you, you're still quite immature, or you want things I don't want.
Because then what you'll end up doing is just moving from relationship to relationship, never being willing to be with someone who might need a little bit of growth or a little bit of insight to how their behaviours are coming across. Sometimes people are quite aggressive and bullish, and they don't even know that that's how they're being perceived. They see it as power, they see it as authority, they see it as head of the house, when actually sometimes they might just need it pointing out.
And sometimes it's reassurance. I think sometimes as you get older, or as you get into a relationship and your spouse is doing other things, you can feel quite insecure, and that insecurity can come over as like a power struggle, almost like you can't do this without me, and you're moving forward without me. Then the insecurity comes in, and then this forced submission happens. Submission where the person wants to overpower you. And even in women, like you don't need to know where your partner is every second of the day. Like, why? You don't expect that of you. You expect to be trusted. You expect your person to go out knowing that they can help other people in life without needing to report every single detail back to you. Like, you have to be
your possession.
And you have to be focused on the things you're doing, fulfilling your purpose. And if you're both trying to work to your purposes, you will find that common ground where you want to share what you've been doing of a day without where have you been, what time, how long, you know. And I think we have to be just a bit mindful of the people that we are entrusting our hearts with, and because in order to love fully, you have to be a certain level vulnerable. You have to give that person and trust that person with your heart, even if it means in the end you will have your heart broken through change, through growth. It might happen where your relationship ends, but at the same time you can't have a fully fulfilled relationship unless you are willing to be vulnerable to a certain extent. And I think a lot of, you know, some of the comments were saying, why don't women get this or want to do what men want? And I think just for a long time women have been on a defense, because we have been when I say we, I don't mean me particularly, I mean we as women, we have been having to defend single parenthood, having to defend why men have walked away from us, having to defend
lower earnings,
why we struggle, and you know, so we always come out as defense. If someone says black women this, straight away it's like but men do this and men do that, rather than taking the time and think, okay, why is this conversation happening? We do need to address these issues. It's hard and it's hurtful, because you know, a lot of us are dealing with abandonment issues from our fathers as well. So I'm not saying me personally, I say a lot of women, a lot of men are dealing with abandonment issues from their parents, from mothers or fathers, parents being incarcerated for years and having to work through that, and some of us not realizing that we've had to work through that. Some of us actually just like putting literally a mask on, you know, putting the clothes on, having the drip, and then pretending that this is us now and we're going to go out into the world as these people. But actually under that mask, under all the exterior things that we're furnishing ourselves with, that actually the self, the person, the character, the soul is deeply destroyed.
And it needs healing.
And unless you, as we've always said, if you unpack that, then that person, the end result of that is a happier, more content, more knowing person. Knowledge of self. You can't have, you know, all this woke stuff, knowledge of the universe and knowledge of a higher power. It's like, if you don't first know who you are as a person and what you bring to the world, to society, not just a relationship.
And that takes a lot of accountability, a lot of self-accountability. If you continue to just blame everybody, blame the past, blame your parents, blame everything, other than taking accountability for where you're at now, where you could be, and the work that it takes on self to get from A to B. It takes vulnerability, it takes accountability, until you can become accountable, as you said, for your actions, for the energy that you put out, for how you initiate conversations and engagements with people. You then can't just keep hopping without healing.
And people tend to go from one relationship to another, blaming the faults of that person, when actually just stop for a minute and do the work. And I'm not saying it just because it's easy to say. I mean, we've had pauses from this, we've had pauses from our life. We haven't been the females you see here today all of our lives. Like, it has taken a lot of reflection and a lot of healing work, you know. And people might mock the fact that we do meditation and crystals and things like this, but it's been using lots of tools that will work for us. They might not necessarily work for you, but you've got to find what works for you. It might just be going for a walk every day helps you to think and have clarity and clarify your thoughts before you put them on other people. And it's important. We have a lot of sort of gaslighting going on. We have a lot of people who deflect. So if they feel hurt, they push it on their spouse, they push it on the people they're meeting. And really sometimes all those people need is, you know, a hug, a good cry, you know, really to get behind why they're acting in the way they do. So we still continue with the healing work every day. I am really just trying to be a better version of myself. I know Charlie is really trying to just be a better version of herself, and more importantly, not just for us but for our children, so that they don't have to spend decades doing all the healing work. That when things happen in our lives, I don't think when things happen in our lives, our parents didn't necessarily break down what has happened. This is why I left. This is why I act the way I do. This is why I treat your or mother XYZ. We have been left trying to work that all out, and it's taken years. And I think the best thing we can do for our children and for the younger generation is to explain why people are doing the things that they do, and that it's not always okay, and there's ways around it, and things can work. Like, we can't just give up on unions. We can't just give up on the family, because then we'll have nothing.
We have to raise children that don't have to recover from their childhoods. If we now know better, as you get, not us personally, but in general as parents, as that older generation, we can keep focusing on the past, but we'll stay stuck there. We need to reflect on the past, how maybe their upbringing was, their grandparents were with their parents, and think, this is not what I want for my child. I want to break this cycle. I don't want to give, if I've had to recover from my childhood, why would I want a child that then has to recover from theirs?
And as I think in the words of great Maya Angelou, when you know better, you do better. Because I think we're not here to judge anyone. We're not here to bash women. We're not here to bash men. In actual fact, we want it all to work. So when you do your work, when you read and empower yourself, you will do better. So to all of you out there, just keep growing, keep loving, don't give up, because your person is out there for you. Ladies, listen. Men, listen. And action, you know, not just talk, not just do, but do. Go and do those things that are going to make you a better you, so you can have a more fulfilling life. And especially in this crazy time we live in, we just want to give love to you and know that you can do it. We are trying our best to do it each day. So love, light, peace from Sister Sis. Till next time.
Bye.
Bye.